Accounting, the way we would proceed is that we have learned the basic structure of what the accounting equation is. We have learned how to incorporate the changes in assets, capital, and liabilities in T account, how to do the recording. So, little by little, in each class, we'd be learning new transactions, new events, that if such an event happens, how do we do the accounting for that? So, the next thing that we have to learn the accounting for is the asset of stock. First of all, what is stock? Stock and goods or inventory. These are the items selling which is your main business. So, for example, if I'm running a stationery shop, all the stationery that I've got, all the different items, the notebooks, the pencils, the pens, the other types of stationery, sticky notes, and everything that I've got for sale, those are my inventory items. But if out of those inventory items, I take any particular one out for my own use. So, for example, out of all the notepads that I've got, I take one out and use it for noting down the expenses of the shop itself. Now, this is no longer inventory. Similarly, for a furniture shop, all the furniture that they've got in the shop, selling which is their main business, that would be their inventory. And the furniture that they use in the office for themselves, that won't be the inventory. Similarly, for a computer shop, all the computer systems that they have got and related items. Something that you would learn later on in your business classes again as well, but maybe I'll identify it over here and we'll learn the accounting and steps. Right now, we are okay. So, businesses, we have got a few types based on whether they do any processing on the goods that they buy or not. What do I mean by that? There are types of businesses who sell goods as they buy them, as it is, no change. So they these type of businesses, they're called trading businesses. Okay, so for example, the shops where we buy the cloth from, ladies, they have this peculiar pattern. They buy this unstitched cloths often, and then they get the clothes stitched as per their requirements. So the unstitched cloth, the person that I'm buying it from, did he make that cloth? He didn't. He perhaps bought it from wholesale from a person who had bought it from someone who had actually made it in the factory or in the mill. Are you getting my point? So this shopkeeper that I'm getting this stuff from, he is just doing the trading. So this is one type of business. The other type of business could be where a person, he buys stuff. So for example, a person who makes cricket bats, so he buys raw wood and then he does some conversion on that. And once those bats, they are converted into finished goods, he sells those bats then. So such businesses, they are called manufacturing businesses. We'll begin with the accounting of easier ones, that is the trading businesses, how trading businesses, they buy and sell stock. And even to make things even simpler, right now perhaps we'd begin with the assumption. Let's just get to that. So there are a few things that would happen. First of all, when you buy the stock, when you buy the items which you plan to later sell on, this inventory items, all the purchases that you do, you would record them in an account called purchase account. Okay, so that T account where you record all the purchases, and when we say simply purchases, purchases could mean purchase of any asset, but when we say simply purchases, it would mean purchase of inventory. Okay, so all this purchase, all the things that we buy, they would be recorded in a purchases account. So when you buy the goods, they would be recorded in purchases account. And at times it happens that the goods that you bought, you don't like them. They might have some defect, or they might not be as per specifications that you agreed to buy things on. Or it could be that you have this understanding or this agreement with the seller that if you don't like the goods, for if you want to return the goods for whatever reason, you can return them. So there is a very usual process of returning the goods as well. So whenever we return the goods, we record them in return outwards or purchase return account. We could give it either of the two names. Either we call it return outwards account or we call it purchases return account. Okay, just a second. Let me open the concept board over here as well. Hmm. Ji, the entries that we are going to learn, there'd be for there would be for two situations. Okay, so purchases, we know there can be two circumstances. One circumstance could be that I buy the goods and immediately pay for them, whether I pay through the hard cash or I pay through a check. If I'm making the payment immediately when I'm buying the goods, such purchases are called cash purchases. Okay, and cash purchases, we have to remember, it doesn't mean that we are paying for the goods in hard cash. Even if I'm paying through a check, even that is considered cash purchase. Okay, the other type of purchases that I've got, those are called credit purchases, and credit purchases are the ones in which payment is deferred. So I say I buy these goods right now, but I'll pay for them at a later time, at a later date. ठीक है, तो we have to learn how to do the accounting entry for both of these types of purchases. For cash purchases, the entry is purchases debit, purchases account, it would be debited, and cash slash bank, whichever I'm paying through, this particular account will be credited. Okay, and for credit purchases, the entry would be purchases account, I'll debit, and the creditor's account, ABC, whoever happens to be the creditor, ABC Limited, I will credit the creditor's account. Okay, since it's a liability is increasing, and whenever the liability increases, I credit it. And the purchases, you can think of it as an expense increases, I debit the account. Acha. So the same way I've got purchases, I could also have purchase return. So for purchase return, the entries would be the opposite of these two, purchase return. Acha, it could be purchase return or it could be return outwards. Since I'm sending the good out my premises back to the supplier, return outwards or purchase return, it's the same thing. Acha ji, if I'm getting a cash refund for my purchase, it will be cash or bank debit, and purchase return credit, purchase return credit. And if I hadn't paid for purchases earlier, all I would do is I would reduce the liability by the amount of returns. So I bought goods worth $500, I returned goods worth $100. I would simply reduce the liability with 500. Okay, so it would be ABC Limited debit, and purchase return credit, purchase return credit. Acha. So this is how it happens with regards to purchases. Similarly, one business's purchase is another business's sale. So if I'm recording purchase this way, how is the other business recording sales of this transaction? Or once I buy these goods, if I later sell them, how would I record the sales transaction for these goods? Next, we learned that. So for sales, again, there would be two possibilities. Either I have a cash sales. Cash sales means that payment is being immediately settled, whether through cash or check, cash sales. And the other type of sales would be credit sales, which means that the payment is deferred. And since purchases, when I buy things and I defer the payment, that gives rise to a liability. If I'm selling something and the payment is being deferred, it would give rise to an asset. So over there was an account payable. Over here, it would give rise to an account receivable. Acha ji, for cash sales, the way it would be recorded is, since I'll be getting cash or check, so cash or bank asset increases, I debit the account, and sales would be credited. Why? Because income, when income increases, I credit that particular account, right? Similarly, if I'm selling the goods on credit, instead of getting cash or bank, it would give rise to an asset of debtor. So ABC Limited, whoever happens to buy goods from me, their account would be debited, and income increases, so sales account is credited. Easy. ठीक है जी. The same way purchased goods can be returned. The same way sold goods can also be returned. So if I am returning the goods which I once purchased, for me it would be purchase return. For the other business who's getting the goods back, it would be sales return. So it's called sales return or return inwards. Return inwards. Again, two possibilities: that I compensate that person by paying them back cash. So in that case, it would be sales return debit, sales return debit, and cash or bank credit. Okay. And if that person he hadn't paid me yet, I'd simply reduce the asset of accounts receivable that I had on my books. So in that case, it would be sales return debit, and ABC Limited or account receivable for that person, it would be credited. ठीक है जी. Any confusion in this? अच्छा, one thing to remember, the assets account, since they increase by a debit entry, they would at the end. So if I want to increase an asset, I debit the account. And similarly, if I want to reduce an asset, I credit the account. For liabilities, if I want to increase the liability, I would credit the account. And if I want to decrease the liability, I would debit the account. Agreed? Acha. When we are returning the goods, there are two types of documents which are at times generated. One document is called credit note, credit note, and the other document is called debit note. Acha, for this credit and debit note, these are documents that we raise. Documents on return of goods usually. Acha, what do these documents mean? So for example, if a person he had bought goods from me and now he returned me goods. So what I will do, I'll have to credit his account in order to diminish his liability, right? Okay, a person ABC, he has bought goods from me. So when he bought goods from me, I issued him the sales invoice, right? For the sales of the good. Acha, when he returns the good, what I would do in my T accounts, I will credit his T account, right? Because I have to reduce that accounts receivable from this particular person, this case over here. So since I'm crediting the account of this person, I will issue him a credit note. Okay. But if we think from that person's perspective, he had a liability account of mine in his books. He would have a liability account with the name Saad, right? Because he had bought goods from me on credit. What he is doing, he would be debiting that account in order to reduce his liability since he has returned the goods. So if he issues the note, that particular note would be debit note. Okay, so for the credit and debit note, we always have to be mindful of who is the person who is actually issuing this note. Acha, if it were, if I think from my own perspective, from the purchases, if I'm returning the goods, I will myself raise the debit note. But if I return the goods, the person to whom I return the goods, he would issue me with credit note, right? ठीक है जी, ठीक है. अच्छा जी, तो once we understand this, we can now move on to questions. ठीक है जी, there would be purchase of goods on cash, there would be sale of goods on cash and credit, and return of goods, inwards and outwards. That's it. Acha ji, there's an example in the book, but I just skip right to the exercise questions. Acha ji, purchases and sales. These are the transactions. What's the difference between cash sales and credit sales? Acha, you could, I'd highly encourage if you could give it a read, the whole chapter after the class. Acha, I'll do 3.2a right now, and you can do 3.1 as homework and the rest of the questions as we discuss. Acha ji, for the first one, goods bought on credit from T. Morgan. What would be the debit and credit? Which account will be debited and which account will be credited for the first transaction? Hmm. Purchases. Okay. When it mentions goods, it means that these are goods which would eventually be resold. So when it simply says goods, it means purchases. Similarly, when it simply says goods sold, it would be sales account, which would be impacted. Okay. Achha, so over here, the entry would be purchases debit and T Morgan credit. Next one. ठीक है, just hold on, is J Thomas, एक काम करते हैं, let me copy this on the concept board. Can I? नहीं. Yes, I can. Hmm. Hmm. J Thomas would be credited and which one would be debited? Sales return, excellent. Sales return would be debited and J Thomas would be credited. Perfect. The third one. जी madam, the third transaction. Machinery returned to L Jones Ltd. Fine. The L Jones Ltd. would be debited and no, this is machinery. This is not goods. So machinery would be credited. The same way we can return the goods, we can return any other asset that we have bought as well. So for example, I buy furniture for my office. It's not as per the specifications. I can return that furniture. When it says goods, then it would be sales return or purchase return. Otherwise, it would be the asset which is being returned. ठीक है जी, the next one please. D. Hmm. Cash. Excellent. Next. Hmm. D. Davies Ltd. would be credited when debited. Excellent. Next one please. Okay, for all these transactions, always think, is it a sales return or a purchase return? So goods returned by us, is it purchase return or sales return? Purchase return. So purchase return would mean liability would reduce, and liability reduced, the liability account would be debited, and the other account, which would be purchase return, that one would be credited. The next transaction, it says paid us his account by check. By check. Hmm. Excellent. Bank debit, debit and credit. Excellent. Purchase debit, purchases account debit, bank credit. Excellent. B Henry debit, bank credit, and the one after that. Excellent. J Mullings debit, sales credit. ठीक है जी, perfect. 3.1 hopefully you can now do as homework. Let's see 3.4a, or let's do 3.6a right now. ठीक है, 3.6a करते हैं. The remaining you can attempt as homework. Let's shift as screenshot. Control V. Let's see, started in business with 18,000 in the bank. ठीक है जी, we have done this entry before. इसमें हमारे पास क्या होगा, बैंक अकाउंट आ जाएगा, and there would be a capital account, right? Capital. अच्छा जी, how much in bank? 18,000. 18,000. How much in capital? Same 18,000. Here I'd write bank, and the bank debit column I'd write capital. So जी डेट क्या है, May 1. May 1 and May 1. Bought goods on credit from B Hind. अच्छा जी, goods on credit. Double entry is purchases debit, accounts payable credit. So purchases, here we go, purchases. Oh, and B Hind. B Hind. ठीक है जी, purchases how much? 1455. 1455. We earn how much? 1455. जी, here I'll write purchases. Here I'll write behind date is May 2. The next one, goods bought goods on credit from G Smart. So again, purchases debit and G Smart credit. Purchases debit by 472. Here I'll write G Smart. Date is May 3. Here I'll open a G Smart account. Bought goods credit 472. Here I'll write purchases and I'll write May 3. So for some businesses, one thing they do, we won't be doing that in this account over in this question over here, but some businesses, they have a separate T account for credit purchases and a separate for cash purchases. If you want to do that bifurcation, you can do that too. If the question requires you to do that, you'll do that. Otherwise, we'll put all the purchases in one account if it doesn't specifically mandate us to do that question. अच्छा जी, the first three transactions done. अच्छा जी, the next transaction is sold goods for cash 210. So now we'll have a sales account as well. Sales. ठीक है जी, how much sold for 210 and for cash and cash which date? May 5. Let's open a cash account. Cash. How much cash? 210. And for what? For sales when? May 5. May 5. ठीक है जी. May 6 we returned goods to behind 82. So it would be purchase return account. Purchase and return. How much purchase return credit? 82. Behind debit 82. And when? May 6. 6. Purchase return May 6. ठीक है जी. May 8 bought goods on credit from G Smart. Again, how much? 370. So G Smart credit 370. Actually, there is a chance that I make mistake in any of the transactions. You'll correct me if I do that. Goods on credit from G Smart 370. So 370 purchases and date is May 8. May 8. Purchases debit by 370. Again from G Smart and May 8. अच्छा जी, transactions completed till May 8. Okay, take your time. अच्छा जी, then 10th May sold goods on credit to P Sime. Sime भाई को sales की है on credit. How much? Sold goods 483. So 483. 483 and P Sim. Which date? May 10. May 10. ठीक है जी. नया अकाउंट फॉर साइम भाई कहाँ है? पी साइम. ठीक है. पी साइम. हाउ मच सर? पी साइम कितने की है? 483, राइट? So 483 receivable over here. I'll write sales happened on May 10. ठीक है जी. Then we sold goods for cash pound 305. ठीक है जी. Sales credit 305. I write cash and this happened on May 12. And then cash debit. Where is cash? Here is cash. By how much? 305. Cash debit 305 again for sales, and then May 12 it was, right? Yes, May 12. Done. अच्छा जी. For 12 में done. Then on 18th May I took 250 of the cash paid into the bank. So bank debit, cash credit. Cash credit by how much? 250. Yes, 250. I write bank, and this is on May 18. And then bank debit per 250 because of cash, this on May 18. Then we bought a printer paying by check, so it would be printer debit, bank credit. We could do office equipment debit or we could do printer debit depending on which account we like to keep it in. Let's do printer debit. Okay, so let's make a T account for printer over here. कितने का जी? Printer is worth 620 pounds. 620 and paid by check. Yes, printer debit, bank credit. When? May 21. ठीक है जी. Printer debit, bank credit. Bank credit 620. अच्छा, you won't skip lines in the bank T account on the credit side. ठीक है जी. This would be printer and it would be on May 21. Good. Done. Then we sell goods to H. Buchan. So H. Buchan debit, sales credit. ठीक है जी. H. Buchan का अकाउंट बना लेते हैं. Where? Just below B Smart, G Smart. H. Buchan. How much? H. Buchan is कहाँ transaction 394. So H. Buchan debit 394, 395, 394 it is. Sales credit. देखे ना 394 है ये रहा. Then sales credit 394. 394 and here I write H. Buchan, May 22. May 22. So any of your friends from the previous school also switched school with you? Oh, so much loyalty. So, Acha, did you change your residence because you changed school, or did you change school because you changed residence? Or neither of the two are correlate? Huh. I was saying, did you change school because you changed residence? Seemingly there is a lag in my voice. Uh, did you change school because you changed residence? Or did you change residence because you changed school? Mm-hmm. 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 So did you change school because of her, or did she switch school because of you? Mhm. So your previous school, it was IB school, right? You also went through IB, and then I mean, the IB system, it doesn't have exams of its own, so it asked you to do IGCSEs. Was it like that? Oh, brutal. Acha ji. All right. 23. P. Syme returned goods to us 160. So the double entry would be sales return debit, P. Syme credit. So do we have an account for sales return yet? No. Just below P. Syme. Let's open one. Sales return. How much sales return? Sales return 160. Debit. P. Syme May 23. And then P. Syme credit 160. Sales return May 23. Acha ji. Then H. Buchan also returned goods to us 18. So again, sales return debit 18 and H. Buchan credit. This is May 25. Over here, I would write 18. This would be because of sales return. Mm, May 25. Acha ji. Then we returned goods to G Smart. G Smart. So the double entry would be G Smart debit, purchase return credit, goods worth 47. So G Smart debit 47, purchase return credit, and this is on May 28. May 28, and purchase return the account credit by how much? 47. And here I'd write G Smart, and the date is May 28. ठीक है. Then we paid behind by check 1373. So behind debit and bank credit. So behind debit by 1373, bank, and May 29. Behind debit, bank credit 1373. Behind May 29. May 29. And then we bought machinery on credit from ACOB. Does ACOB exist before? No. Chalo ji. Let's make an account for machinery and ACOB. So here I open the account on machinery. I do not already have an account for machinery, right? No. Okay. New account, machinery debit, how much? 419. Bought on credit from ACOB. So ACOB credit May 31. Here I'll write the account for ACOB credit 419. I'll write machinery. This is May 31. May 31. ठीक है जी, this is it for this question, and this is how you would do the rest of the questions as well. अच्छा जी, for your homework, if you could please attempt 3.5, 3.3, and 3.1. 1, 3, and 5. All right. ठीक है जी, that's it for today. See you for the next class.